Hello, San Angelo. The opening weekend of the 93rd Annual San Angelo Rodeo is over, and we are on to week 2. Also, a San Angelo student was arrested over the weekend, and 5 suspects are being sought after an alleged sexual assault. I'm James Bouligny.
And I'm Tessa Koskovich.
Before the news, we have Dr. David Bixler from ASU in studio right after these messages from Jim Bass and Carpet Tech.
It's time. It's Truck Month at Jim Bass Ford. So it's time for you to save thousands, like $6,000 off a new 24 Ford Bronco.
Are you serious?
I'm real serious. Get $6,000 off a new Ford Bronco. But this won't last forever. Hurry down to Jim Bass Ford, Houston Hart and Arden Road, or 24/7 at BassBots.com.
My name is Cade Simmons. I'm the site manager here in San Angelo. What matters to our customers, I believe, is what we say is CT quality, CT experience, just making sure their needs are met, taking care of their home like it was ours. You just have to keep thinking of, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So just making sure you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of, and just knowing that they can rely on us, I think, matters to them a lot.
Welcome back, everybody. James Bouligny here with Dr. David Bixler. He has returned, talking about some student research projects.
Yes, so on April 11th, on Friday, we will have 75 students presenting research projects. Most of them have been working on this since last fall, so they've done a full year project.
Okay.
They've reached the point that they're ready to show what they've done.
Yeah, you said that this is kind of the spring one's always a little bit bigger than the one in the fall because they are doing year-long projects and
Yes.
they don't really have time to present it at that.
So last fall, there were a few people that were able to present sort of midpoint through their research. So a few of them finish in one semester, but that's pretty rare. This one is much larger than the fall because they've had the full year. They've had time to finish everything, and it's really exciting to see what they've done.
Yeah, you have any type of examples of the projects that they have, or can you tell us anything?
So there's quite a few. There's 75 projects, 15 different departments. Some of them are, of course, very relevant to West Texas. For example, there's a project in meteorology where they're using really the latest GIS data, the latest storm tracking data to sort of make some predictions on where severe weather might be moving. When you see,
are we getting rain anytime soon?
I don't count on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Maybe. There's also some that work with, one that's working on hydrocarbon extraction from oil field contaminated soils, trying to clean some areas up and maybe also make something useful out of it.
Okay.
There's, some health related research projects. One involving maybe what's the difference between if you do a lot of your practices and exercise indoors versus outdoors. How does that affect your performance?
Probably getting some vitamin D outdoors.
Probably do, but you might also get overheated. So
that's true.
Depending on the time of year.
Well, there's good and bad to everything.
That's true. And so then there's also, how quickly is safe to return after a concussion? So you have a sports related concussion. What kind of study, there's actually running a study right now to see what the results are for how quickly you return and how well you perform when you return. Obviously, you don't want to go back too soon.
Right.
But there could be performance issues even if you go back after the doctors say it's okay, but if it's still maybe a little too soon. So there's some things there. Of course, some research out of the business school, finance, trying to predict the stock market. Good luck with that. But with AI these days, you never really know. And speaking of AI, there's even some computer science, cyber threat, and using AI to help both deal with it and maybe even prevent it from happening. So
those all sound interesting, man.
A lot of interesting projects. The students, they do a great job. They do really well. It's extremely good for our undergraduate students especially. Now we'll have graduate students and undergraduates presenting, but the undergraduate students, a lot of times, classwork is pretty predictable. Research is very unpredictable. You don't always know what the results are going to be. You don't always know the answers to questions. So both the faculty and the students, nobody really knows what the results will turn out. So you get in there, get your hands dirty, you figure something out. And I think it's really good for the students to see that, the experiential learning they get from it, getting in there and really answering a question where no one in the world knows the answer.
All right.
So,
yeah, I went to Cristobal. I had 3 fantastic teachers, and Miss Nowlin, Miss Grace, Miss Milton. And they didn't just hand you packets. 'Cause you kind of said it's just kind of good for faculty, too, that, and the students also haven't maybe done a lot of this because they just get handed packets in school. But I had great teachers that actually taught and actually cared to teach. And now that y'all have this going, it kind of makes students think a little bit outside the box, and maybe it makes faculty think a little bit outside the box.
Outside the box. It's good for everyone to get into a lab. The students get that experience of thinking about problems that we just don't always know how to solve, and really trying to be innovative, approach things a little bit differently, maybe see if your idea works, see if you can make some predictions, and you start predicting the weather. Does that work? Well, maybe not. And the faculty, it's good too. You teach classes, you teach a lot of the same things over and over again. Research is more unpredictable. You don't really know, and so you get to work with a student who's going to ask you questions that you don't know the answer to. Yeah, very much less monotonous, and it's good preparation for the students getting out in the real world, because let's face it, the questions you face on a day-to-day basis, you may not know the answer, and you can't just ask ChatGPT or something, because it's not going to know either. So
I run into stuff all the time up here that is just, you have to think different about how to do it.
How to improvise, how to think on your feet and how to improvise. That's what a lot of research
and those are really valuable tools to have. And
our student research program at ASU has been very good. We've got lots of students, as I said, 75 total. At noon, we'll have the undergraduates, so the ones working on their bachelor's degree, they'll present. And at 4 o'clock, the graduate students, all on the 11th. But both groups could benefit from this. All sets of faculty benefit from this. ASU student research has been one of the cornerstones of what we try to do. We try to teach students, obviously, their coursework. We also try to teach them how to be thoughtful, innovative people who will make a difference in the world, and this is one way to do that.
Absolutely. So it starts next Friday, April 11th at noon. We're on campus?
So this will be in the C.J. Davidson Center in the University Center. So if you go to the UC, the big room, there will be posters set up in there. And it's open to the public. We encourage people to come in, ask the students questions, especially ask them hard questions. That's what we want to do, is we want to make them think. We want to make them be able to articulate what they've done.
Now you got to give people questions, hard questions, so they can ask.
So they can ask them to predict the weather.
There you go.
That's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
Is it going to rain?
You hope,
pretty
you
good
pray
one.
It does, but sometimes it just misses us.
Absolutely.
But we had something else you wanted to talk about as well. Y'all got some funding.
Yeah, so one of the things at ASU that we've done, of course, we try to support the students. It's not, it's one thing to have research project to do. It's a whole different thing to have some, either student wages or a scholarship or something like that to go with it. And a lot of times these projects do require some supplies. If you're doing something on a computer, that might be one thing. You just need some electricity. But if you're actually doing something in a lab, you may need test tubes, you may need chemicals. There's obviously some supplies and some costs there. So ASU, of course, the faculty and sometimes even the students, we've been pretty good about writing grants, submitting to different agencies. We've got Department of Energy funding, Department of Defense funding from National Science Foundation. Many of these grants, are collaborative. We work with other universities.
Right.
And of course, they all are there to support the students in their research. And it's been pretty good. I know there's some uncertainty these days with funding, especially federal funding, but all of our grants are intact. Everything's good. It's all approved. It's all fine. And so we're doing well with that. So the students, when they come in, they'll have these opportunities still.
You see that I grew up in San Angelo, so I always heard of ASU, and sometimes like, oh, it's kind of the local college. You want to go to a huge D1 school. But after talking with ASU, because we've had y'all in here every week, someone from ASU, it really has started sticking out to me how great of a university ASU is.
Yeah, these opportunities. This is one of the things we're proud of with the student research is if you go to a big school, and they're great in their own ways, whatever, but an undergraduate student especially isn't going to have the opportunities there. A lot of the research funding and the research effort's going to go to graduate students or doctoral students, and,
Right.
and that's probably as it should be at a school like that. But if you're an undergraduate there, you're probably not going to have these opportunities. Here, we do have those because we don't have as many graduate students doing we have quite a few doing research, but we also only have a few doctoral programs, and so there's a lot more resources available for the undergraduates. And there's many departments, they only have undergraduates. They don't even have a graduate program at all.
Okay,
And so
yeah.
they focus all their efforts into those students, so you get a lot more opportunities a lot earlier than you would maybe at some other place that's bigger.
All right. So if you're a local kid and you heard ASU your whole life, it is an absolutely quality university.
Absolutely. And the
And-
research we're doing is cutting edge. I mean, our faculty, our students publish in peer-reviewed journals, so these are respected places to put your research out there. They get invited to talks at different conferences. So there's a lot of opportunities for the students to get their research out there, for the faculty to get their research out there, and it's well respected. I mean, it's good work.
Oh, absolutely.
And-
We the hangar you'll have out at the airport. How
Yes.
that class is blown up, and everybody wants to be involved in that. If you want to look at athletics, it always seems Coach Brooks always seems to have his team in the championship, and
Yes, he
ASU's
does.
always been competitive in pretty much every sport. They've always been good athletically. Academically has always been top of the line.
And what you don't see always behind that is so many people are behind those. There's
Right.
so many people involved, so many people have their hands in things, and there are many of those students that are getting the opportunities. Sometimes it's coursework, sometimes it's research, sometimes it's some of their service activities. They're getting opportunities here that you might not see other places. They have programs here, and there's so many people they interact with.
Right.
And it's all about making that educational experience meaningful and useful, and then getting those students into the workforce when they're done.
All right.
So
All right. So next Friday, you can go see some of these students work in action at 12 o'clock, the 11th, on April 11th at 12 o'clock at the C.A. Davidson Center.
yep,
right.
we encourage you to come and see what the students have done. Ask them hard questions.
All right. Dr. Bixler, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Back to you. Starting off the news, the first four performances of the San Angelo Rodeo were this past weekend, and we were at all of them. Tessa, this was your first year covering the rodeo with us. What'd you think?
I had a super fun time. I'm absolutely exhausted from running around and, coming back to the studio and shooting everything, but I had a really good time out there, and I'm super stoked for the next few weekends.
And what were some of the Cowboys that you got to talk to that you just absolutely had to talk to and you loved talking to?
I mean, I didn't get an interview with Rocker, but we did talk with him, and he's a pretty cool dude. And then Bradley Miller, of course, was #1 in the world at 21 years old, which is pretty freaking impressive.
That is impressive.
And, that Trent Ferrier kid, he's just 18, and he was brave enough to get on a bull at a rodeo that's the size of the San Angelo Rodeo.
Right.
So it was really fun getting out there to talk to everybody, and obviously local Ty Harris.
Ty
he
Harris
was
is out
super
there?
nice, yeah.
Had a bad run at the matinee.
And he still was willing to do an interview. He did
He
the
did an
interview.
interview with us.
He
and
did
then
the interview, and then he had a good run, so we ran with that
He
interview.
ran a 7 flat, and we're like, you know what, we can get another interview with him.
Right. No, yeah, I was super impressed that he was, because a lot of them, they have a bad run or ride, and they just,
Yeah,
they're
they
not
don't
feeling
want
it, understandably.
Yeah, no, they're upset with themselves.
Yeah,
or
but no,
whatever.
he still went out there and got an interview, and he was super nice about it.
So that's all great. We're going to be at the next performance on Thursday, so watch for the pre-show coming out, and then watch for all the reels that come out on Facebook from our rodeo coverage. Now into some news. While we were at the rodeo, the San Angelo Police Department issued a press release regarding a situation at Lincoln Middle School. A student was arrested while trying to run from police. Officers made contact with a 14-year-old boy who was seen with a vape. He fled from police while discarding possessions into a nearby field. The student was caught, and officers located multiple vape devices and a firearm. He was booked into the Juvenile Justice Center.
Staying in crime, the Angelo State University Police issued a statement regarding a sexual assault that allegedly occurred off campus on Knickerbocker Road. That information said, the SAPD are investigating the incident. Around midnight, the ASU PD was informed that between noon and 10 p.m. on Sunday, a sexual assault occurred. 5 men, 2 were identified as white, 1 identified as black, and 2 were unidentified. The other 2 were unidentifiable. The suspects were in an older model red pickup truck with a camper shell and tinted windows. If you see this vehicle, contact University Police at 325-942-2071 or the SAPD at 325-657-4315.
All right, when we come back, we'll have weather right after this message from Jay Chandler.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the giants and who will never, ever flinch.
Into weather, after a short cold spell, the rest of the week looks sunny and warm. Right now it's 68 degrees outside with a high of 71 and a low tonight of 39. Tomorrow the high jumps up to 80 and the low drops down to 52, and then on Wednesday the high gets even higher, 87, and the low increases a little bit to 54.
I don't know about you, James, but I'm pretty darn excited for this warm weather.
So am I. It was kind of miserable out there at
It
the
was
rodeo.
miserable, and the snow in April
No,
is
that's ridiculous.
absolutely. If you plan on going to the carnival this past weekend, but couldn't because of the cold, this is going to be a perfect week to get out there and have some fun on the fairgrounds.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from Connor's Diamonds and Coins.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, Kano's Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, Kano's Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Kano stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Kano's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Thank you for watching the Live Daily News Show.
The only locally owned news show in the Contra Valley.
Go like us on Facebook, X, and other social media platforms.
And download the San Angelo Live mobile app.
For the live team, I'm James Bouligny.